Mic check. Welcome to the channel, guys. This is Reliable Rudy. Before we go into any trades, any analysis, you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Just simply sharing my opinion and trying to give you guys some entertainment and make some money in the process. We are in on FFIE playing this sort of breakout level. We have one fill above the breakout level and a couple fills below that breakout level underneath of this, right around this 3270 is where some market orders came in. And we've gotten a few trims on the name. I believe we've trimmed about 1/6 of the position. First fill coming in at 33.64, 33.77, 34, 34.16, and 34.28. Now just giving up those 34s for the time being, but a lot of volume coming into this. And we think that this can be a runner. And if it does want to run, we are looking for it to run to this gap up to 45. So that is the dream move. Now if it falls back in underneath this 33, I'm going to expect this to probably retrace back down to the gap. So we might be playing this another day if it falls back into the middle of this green move, but just looking for some continuation on this play. So we are going to just put an alert around this 33.5. If that wants to trigger, we can think about adding or reloading back into the position. So basically marking the top of that green candle. So if it wants to come back in to this 33, I believe we're going to try some reloads and see if we can get some price movement to the upside. And if we don't get any price movement from there, I'm probably just going to put stops underneath. I won't be able to stop in the middle of that penny move. But we're going to be ready for market orders for movement to the downside. I am a little upset that I was not a part of this RXRX. We were looking for this to pull back in to the bottom end of the trend line and actually breaking out now. So that's tough. And Go EV, which is the move we were playing yesterday, we're playing this as sort of a trend line, trying for this bull flag continuation, actually breaking out. So just one day late there, which is a little bit tough. AFRM, we are going to go on the ask around these 1850s. If it wants to get back up to 1850, we're going to take a piece off there. So I know some people like AFRM quite well. So we are going to take a piece off up at that 1850 range, and if it goes higher, we're going to keep holding the piece for a move higher. But over $4 in the money on the position, can't complain. Keeping an eye on this FFIE, still maintaining this green candle. And actually the volume exceeding. So if it's able to hold this green candle right here with this volume exceeding, I'm actually looking for more continuation. So maybe 34 halves. That's what it's rejecting right there. Early on in the day, there's some big size on the ask. So being able to fight through that, I think that this is ready to take on the battle. Neo is another one that we are going to be watching, getting that increasing volume. But I'll show you why we're interested in that price is just being able to hold on these tops right here. That price, all we did was mark the gap. So we actually were looking for some price movement back towards that 1050. But now taking out the highs, if it wants to follow this as some sort of ascending channel, I think it has a chance to get up to this 13.3. So that is definitely worth keeping an eye on. Looking at some other trades that we've been involved with. TDOC, we have no trims on the name yet, but playing strength, we're looking for a continuation and just for 25s to hold. In particular, we'll just mark these tops right here, and I'm more focused on marking the top of that candle. So anything above that I think looks good, but if it wants to pull back in, we got this gap fill around 25s where if we had some trims, we could reload that area. But we don't have the trim, so we're not going to be able to reload the area, of course. But maybe thinking about adding some more. If it wants to pull back into 25s, Soundhound, still holding a piece of this Soundhound. Just playing it like it's going to continue holding this sort of trend line. And if it's able to get a break of 4, we think that we can at least get movement up to 421 gap. So that's what we're going to be looking for there. And of course, FVRR has been one of the names, and we talked about this 32. and we didn't respect 32, but we have some trims obviously on the name as we were playing this position around those 25s. We think that we can get some continuation. I don't like the wick. But it shows us that there is some selling pressure leading up into that 32s, and hopefully we can get into this sell range, which I'm a little bit more focused on. So looking back at FFIE, we are right around this last print. So let's go to a 15-minute chart, and now holding a nice full green engulfing candle. 22 seconds left. We're up to those 34 halves. Let's think about taking a piece off these 34 halves, and go from there. So looks like their size on 34. I'm gonna use the digits. I'm not gonna use the cent because obviously looking at it, you can see we're at 34. So attempt to push 34 halves. I'm gonna say we're at 43s right now. So now initial red candles coming in. Still a little bit of size on 40s. This could be my last chance to get 40s. So let's take a piece off there and see if we can get some further movement. If we can blast through 34 half, then we're going to be looking for some movement to the upside. RXT was also one that we've been talking about. I had alerts. I was hoping for a price movement yesterday to come on in to this 250. We just never got there. Sometimes that's just the way that it works. So I mean, what do you do? But looking around at some other names, Nikola, we did tap up to those 75s. I was not on the ask. Maybe I would have got a fill. We don't know, but that would have been a top like fill. We were on the ask at 75s yesterday, so that is a little bit of a concern. Tel was able to take out the highs, gapped up, tried to retrace back down. This was one that we've kind of talked about as, was rejecting those highs the other day, and we looked at this as sort of a trend line that was building, and if it's able to push up and break 174, easy outs off the gap right there that it was not able to fill, and what's going to happen after it fills that gap is going to be interesting. So FFIE giving up that 40 bid right now for the time being, but we do think that a lot of green volume came in this. We think that even if it pulls back, this could be an area where we can think about reloading. So that's why we took the pieces off where we did, and we are going to reload this name if it comes back in. It is a little bit of a special day for me today. It is my birthday, so we'll see if we can make some money and have a great day that we can remember. Zim also still holding a piece of Zim. We've trimmed 50s over here. That was the only trim that we've had on the name. Pulled back in. No, maybe we trimmed 50s on right here. So we actually got in playing off this trend line and able to. No. I'm lying to you guys. I'm sorry. We took this flat top break right here, trim 50s, and we've just been holding it, waiting for this to kind of give a move to the upside. Now that we are getting this move, we're going to try up to these 14s. So like 14.10, we can see if we can try something there and start taking small pieces off because we don't have the most size on that name. So it's gonna be worth noting that, hey, we gotta make sure that we trim some of these levels. That way we have more room to hit some reloads on some of these names that are moving. But looking around, I'm sure there's all kinds of movement today. I can only keep my eyes on a couple things at once, guys. Plug, we could think about trimming some of the plug as it continues to reject 13.25, but with this nice couple volume candles right here, a little bit of indecision, definite selling pressure. If it can hold above 13s, we think that we can get a run up to like 13.50s. So that's going to be worth keeping on note. FFIE coming on in, so getting that one last fill at those 33.40s. 34.40s could be a good move, and we're going to think about if this wants to come on into the middle of this green move, we're going to think about hitting a nice reload, see if we can get some further movement to the upside. Go EV, absolutely pumping. It's upsetting that it opens right back above this area. You see this 72 just marking that flat top right there. Gave it up yesterday is where we end up getting stopped out over here. Had some opportunities. It fills the gap, never gets back underneath the gap, so could have just tried it there, and then when it gaps up right here and takes out this 75, hasn't looked back yet. So, I mean, that's a little upsetting that we're simply just 1 day late on the Go EV. And I said I wasn't going to trade any more penny stocks, and here I am today trading a penny stock. And actually coming on in, and we are getting alerted right here. So I am going to have to be careful with this, but we are going to try and start getting some of this position back. And I could just go for the full reload right now if I wanted to. It's underneath all the fills that we have, but I do want to see that wick of buying pressure. So if this next candle comes in the 33s, I feel a lot more comfortable uh, pulling the trigger on it. And maybe we just shoot right through all of this. For all I know, this could be the wick top, but a lot of green volume coming in right here, and was able to set a close on that 15-minute candle. So I'd have a hard time thinking that these same buyers in these first two candles on the retest of the break, it's not going to have buyers. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what we're going to be looking for. And maybe I marked the wick top as well. We got very close to those 33.20s, and now holding 33.50s. So we're going to continue watching this, and we're going to try and be a little aggressive in this morning. And the reason why I really even like this play is this was the wick top of this sort of U shape that's been formed, and a lot of green coming on in. But this is the gap that I want to see start building. The part that I like about it is, put a nice green engulfing candle, which put it on the map. I said yesterday, this should get rejected from 33s. You got the start of the gap, and you have these previous lows. I don't see why it couldn't get rejected. Well, prove me wrong, and here we are trading it today. So it would have been nice trading this earlier, like this breakout right here, as we're getting this positive break right here, taking out these highs. Was a very nice look down here at 25 break. So a nice 25 break, it gaps up, fills the gap, buyers are there, puts in a nice green candle. Volume's increasing. We think we're going to get more increased volume today. So let's see if we can get some price movement and go from there. So as I stated, if there's anything that you guys want to take a look at, by all means, feel free to throw some tickers in the chat, and I will make sure to it that I get to them and give you my take on them. Other than that, going to continue watching this FFIE. We feel we got the entry and this wick of buying, so if it does come back in here, I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable putting some trust into that, as those would have been nice reloads. We could have been printing the register or ringing the register on that whole wick up. But it is what it is. Just going to keep holding that position, as I'm going to make sure that I did get those 40s and nothing fishy happened. So yeah, I did get their 34 40s, and let's see if this can give us some continuation and be a nice fast mover throughout the day. If we can get this price to continue making new highs, even if this candle has 7 minutes and 30 seconds left, a nice wick of buying, this candle can still turn green. So could have missed my opportunity to, it triggered my alert and everything. So that's tough to see that nice little wick, but who knows? Maybe it comes on back in, and we can even get a better price. Looking at AFRM, I should keep an eye on TDOC. TDOC pushing that 26, nice green candle. We think that this can get some price movement. Simply because it's a fresh positive break. Even on the gap up yesterday, it was an ugly candle. But why doesn't it have the weakness to trade down to these 25s? Is what you got to ask yourself. A lot of sell volume. So if anybody's got a good entry and they trim the levels all the ways to the downside, there could be potential reloads in here. But if it's able to take out 27s, we don't see why it couldn't catch a bid to the upside. Looking at some of these top movers, I should keep an eye on FFIE, as we feel we are in reload territory. But gonna need a little bit more price movement to the downside for me to gain a little bit of confidence in that reload. But buyers holding around these 34s is a good start. Looking at the volume, we also like the amount of volume that's been coming in this. Already 27 million shares traded. Obviously, it's only 33 cents, so a lot easier to get volume. But yes, very good start to the day. And here we are, right back in. Not much size on the bid, but there is a little bit. And RXRX, kind of the same story. A little bit more sell volume coming in there. But we are trying to hold on the top end of this channel. If this, all we need to do is just wick and hold, kind of right in off that high price from the initial breakout. And what I like about this FFIE is it came in on a full red engulfing candle, but the volume is relatively lower compared to the first two candles, whereas RXRX at sell volume, more of a red engulfing candle, more profit taken, probably the top end of this channel. Who knows, maybe this needs to come all the way back into 14. So probably going to be a no trade for me today on XR or RXRX, but FFIE, this candle still has 4.5 minutes to turn green. So a lot of time left on this candle. But looking around from current position, average cost at 33, feeling all right with it right now. As long as it doesn't shoot down on a red candle through my entry, I'm gonna feel good about holding this throughout the rest of the day. Neo, putting in the third green candle, probably approaching that retracement. So this could have been one that I tried right off the open, just didn't for whatever reason. Warner Bros was also another one that we were looking off the open of the candle. Uh, Pushed up to that 13, trades all the ways back in, now takes out the high. Looking at the daily chart, getting a positive break, a little chop action in here, but we do think it's a wedge pattern, so we think that there's going to be time to trade this another day potentially. TDOC still right around that 26. Soundhound rejecting the level right now, but at least showing a presence, pushing up to those 390s. And Disney putting in a nice candle. Uh, Decent volume for a first pullback candle off of this bear flag action. Now, does that start giving you a curl? I have no clue, but that is one that we're going to be holding along. Lumen in with that AI, or not, I meant AT&T and Verizon plays that are catching a bid today. I'm sure there's some news catalysts going with that, so could have been an easy play, but up 16%, what a move. FFIE actually probably approaching that green candle, very close to approaching that green candle. It's set to close up at these 40s. So let's see if this is going to have some movement to take out the highs. Or if it takes out the highs, we're just going to keep trimming in case this wants to pull back in somehow to this previous high, which is right around that entry. We're not going to be shy at reloading the position the second time in. Tell continues to catch a bid. And we're going to keep an eye on this FFIE. FFIE candle looks like it's going to turn green here. Uh, 236 lots on these 40s. We're showing a rejection of it right now. So with a minute left, is this candle going to have the strength to turn green? We're going to find out here very shortly. Uh, 400, 273 lots. So bids actually kind of pushing up now. 806 lots on 34 threes. So that is some good size that's starting to come back in, pushing it, tightening it down up to these 40s. Now we got a minute left, 40 seconds left. Let's see if this candle has the strength to turn green. So really would have been a nice reload when we got triggered down there. Just didn't, if it would have fell just a little bit more, I think we would have pulled the trigger on it. So that's a little bit tough, but all in all, J Star, what's going on? You got any tickers that you want me to look at? Because more than likely I'm waiting for this to pull back into these 33s where I'm looking to reload any trims that we had on this initial break. And then everything else we're just kind of being patient with. This is the only new trade that we've taken on the day. But I'm sure there is a lot of trades out there. So if you got anything you're looking at or anything you're trading, I'm more than willing to share my opinion. That doesn't mean that it's going to be right, but uh, I hold my opinion in high regard. Maybe you don't know me, so maybe you have a hard time uh, asking for that, but feel free to. Now let's just clear this chart. It looks a little sloppy. So let's mark those highs. And this is all I need to know. If this price comes back into this, we're going to think about it. But for this candle closing, wasn't able to show the strength to turn green. That's all right. We got a nice decrease in volume right there with a nice wick of buying. So that shows us at least a little bit that the sellers aren't really piling on. Probably a little bit of profit taken on the initial break. But as long as it can hold 33s, hold above these highs, we think that we can get price movement to the upside. Looking at the daily candle, uh, you know, is this green move, has this green move been too much? And it needs to kind of sell off, trade back into these holding above these 25s, which is that initial break right there over top of these wick highs on the positive break. So maybe it does need to pull back in. I'm not sure. But all I do see is that there is a gnarly gap off this 45, and we're above the start of that gap. So we're going to see if this wants to get spicy. Already 38 million shares traded on the day. A lot of volume coming in, giving a nice barcode consolidation to the side right now. And we think that this can be the candle. After this kind of consolidation candle, nice wick of buying, it gaps up and then already filled that gap, and buyers are holding it up right now. So we're going to see what this has in store on the 34.50 break, if it can get there. Affirm, we are on the ask on these 50s. We didn't get those 50s on this candle, but if it comes back up and tests near those highs, we are going to respect those 1850s and off of 14 break. Just a simple flat top that we tried, and even when it pulled back in, we did hit some reloads on this. That was able to give us a little bit of size. We've done our fair share of profit taking on this, so we've been picky trying to get this price up near these tops over here. So if we can get some movement up to those tops, we are not going to shy away from taking profits over there. FFIE giving up 34s, wicking into 34s actually. So we're going to see what else has in store. I'd say this Neo is also a nice look. Multiple green candles. Is it going to have more continuation, or are we going to be able to trade back into these 80s, which I think we can put an alert on actually. So let's add an alert there. And if it wants to come down in and test those highs, maybe we can throw some orders in off 75s. But testing these 11s right now, we don't know if that's going to be the case or not. FFIE still holding around these 34s. Tell getting some continuation as well. I'm sure a lot of people are trading the name. Honestly, I was in Carvana at a beautiful price. We were playing it over here. We were playing it over here, getting some movements up in the 28s, and we just weren't able to hold it enough for the breakout. Simply because I felt the entry was down here. Excuse me. The consolidation takes out the highs. If we were able to get an entry right here, we would have been more than willing to hold a piece for the dream. But we didn't feel we were in a position at the time for whatever reason. And these are the moves that I'm trying to get right there. I'm trying to get early entries for those moves. So maybe this FFIE can be one of those movers that maybe it needs to trend down a little bit before the true entry is there. A pullback seems necessary. But the move that we're identifying is this up to this 45 cents. Uh, so today was kind of a nut up or shut up. You know, we kept saying, hey, there's some resistance. You have the previous lows over here. Okay, you have the start of the gap fill that it rejected yesterday. Okay, now we're able to put a green candle through that. Let's see if we can get an entry on this and trade it at a higher price. So maybe we are a little bit late, but that doesn't mean that we can't take advantage of some of this volume that's coming into this. And we probably can do that. Actually, we are going to get ready for maybe a potential reload in around these 33 halves. And then my out is probably just going to be the entry around, 33s. We can give it 33s to hold. So if it comes back in a little bit lower, we're going to be thinking all day that, hey, we're coming back down to the gap. But nice decrease in volume on the second pullback candle. As long as this candle can hold above 33, the low of this wick, we think that this looks good for continuation. Best print on the name is 34.4. Affirm back up, tested those 1825s. Neo was able to break 11s. Warner Bros holding above 13s. And this is still leaving a wick down into it. So a little bit of wick buying. 8 minutes left in this candle. Maybe we can be patient, wait for these 33 halves, and go from there. We might go on the bid. Haven't decided yet. I might just wait for the price to get there first. Geo is also another one that has been trying to break over this sort of flat top, but this 734s is marked previously over here. Could have had some trims above that, but we played this 7 level just a little bit. RXT putting a nice green candle. We talked about this. A lot of red volume on that pullback. Well, a lot of green volume backed it up right there. Are we going to be able to see buyers come back in for this name? Not much selling pressure, but buyers waiting to really come back in. Hopefully a lot of people have the same idea as me around these 33 halves. That is the hope. Lumen continuing to catch a lot of volume. Is that going to break over 2 today? I'm not sure. Affirm getting up to as high as 36, so haven't been able to ring the register on that just yet, but plug actually printing a weekly high, so a good start. So a good start on plug, but kind of a false break as of right now, washout top. Now if it can get above that wick, I'm going to feel pretty confident for a nice leg up, where we can maybe think about printing that name a little bit. FFIE needs to be on watch though. If this pulls back in around these 33 halves, I got to be ready. My out is probably going to be underneath of my original entry around these 33s. With 5 minutes left in this candle, wick has been able to hold decent for now. As long as it stays inside of this wick, I don't want to see price really get underneath that unless it gets bought up right away. Here's 33 sevens. A lot of size on, ate that size up very quickly. The bid is on 33.51. Not much size. Little size jumping up. It should leave it a little tiny wick for the time being. We have 4 minutes left in this candle though. You know, if my first fill wasn't at 33.64, I would probably have tried it right there. But just never cracked down below those halves. 4 minutes left, this wick holding right here. If it can push back above 34, it looks pretty dang good for maybe a continuation play. We're going to see if that's the case. Go EV, large wick, not surprised. The closer we get to the end of this candle, I want this wick to be as large as it possibly can be. Still leaving more of a wick. A firm full green engulfing candle up to 1840. Are we going to get that fill? I should look over at FVRR. FVRR, if it wants to get back up to those 32s, I think we're going to respect it. BAC wicked up to, so let's just go on the ask for BAC at 3150. I know that's not a title name, but we're going to start taking pieces off if that wants to get the 3150. So on the ask for a trim there. KRE also approaching this sort of breakout level here as well, which we are in breakout territory, flirting with the top of these wicks. My equivalent for that is going to be up to 50 half is what we're going to be looking to play there. FFIE still leaving a little bit of a wick, but not out of the woods yet. 2 minutes 30 seconds left on this candle. We're going to see if this wants to get some price movement to the upside. Not as much of a wick threatening right now, which could see some continuation to the downside in this next candle. But if that's the case, this is where we're looking to hit a reload. So we'll see if we can get aggressive on this name or not. But if we're not able to, then so be it. Still leaving that wick though. Nikola holding above the gap, so it gaps up. Didn't have quite enough weakness to get all the ways back down the 50s. But now a little bit of a U shape being formed here. It's kind of building this sort of flat top right there. So if we can get some price movement back into the 70s, we think we might even be able to print this higher than 75s today. FFIE, 1 minute left. We're going to keep our focus here as it does pass the rules for a couple nice green candles, gap free, except for the 31. So if we go south, we think that these 31s is probably the area that we're going to be shooting for. We probably could mark this uptrend. So a decent looking uptrend right there. We think that we can get a little bit further price movement if we just map out the top end of this channel. Give or take something like that. We think that we can get another leg up on the name. But it might need to fight through after that, and might be a couple days of trading before we truly get that 45. But if our entry holds throughout the day, then we are going to be looking to hold this as long as possible. Affirm slightly rejecting near those highs. 42 was the high it was able to get to. Neo showing that wick top, so does that need to come on in where we may be interested? Potentially. But a lot of green volume. This one a little bit of wick of selling, of course, but FFIE next candle has been made. So let's see if we can get this movement down into 33 halves here. Good size on the bid. 934 lots. Hopefully that is able to hold for the start of this candle. Affirm. Maybe trying to push up to those 1850s. We're going to see if we get a fill there. And was able to eat through that size off 76s. And there is 63s. Holding above the wick low of the previous candle for now, and actually some pretty good size coming on in. 1100 lots off of 74s. Now 1400 lots off of 80s. The spread is tight. Bid off 74s and ask off 80s. That's the big size. Trying to decide which way this really wants to go. Chipped away a couple of 80s there. We'll see if these 74s can hold long enough to take out 80s. But notable that it is leaving some wicks into this area. Soundhound giving up most of that green candle, coming on into 74s. Flat top area right around these 73s. Holding a nice trend line though. That's a notable shorter term trend line, especially when you have a longer term trend line that looks like this. Does it need to crack that trend line, come back into 50s before it can make any notable move? Maybe. Maybe. FFIE able to break through those 80 orders for the time being, but that doesn't mean there can't be more size off a 34 flat. So not out of the woods yet, but candle being green on this third candle, leaving 3 wicks on this pullback off of this green volume. I've seen definitely worse setups break out for higher. I'm not saying it's a sure thing, but I see no reason to panic over where I'm at unless we see a red candle kind of fall below those 33s. And now tapping these 34s, only 70 lots on 34s. I see no reason why it can't break over these 34s. And if it does and starts holding a support, 34.50 before you know it, it could be running through the tape. Showing a rejection of 34s though, which is alright. Now let's see if we can hold these price levels right here. And if it wicks down a little bit lower, I think we're going to try it. A little bit wider of a spread, about a quarter penny spread right here. So this candle could easily jump up and turn green actually, saying how wide the spread is. Chipping away some of the bid. And pushing it down. We are going to get ready to put this order in. We'll see if these 33 halves can hold. And some good size jumping down off these halves. We'll see if we can get our reload here. We're on the bid off 33.55 and just chunked away some of those 55s. We'll see if it got all of them. And we did get all of them, so now we are officially reloaded back into the name. So we'll see if this price is going to be able to hold. My out is probably going to be underneath 33s. If it shoots down through 33s, I'm going to be a little bit concerned. $3,700 lots off 33.51. Chipping away some of them. Not a good sign. I don't want to see them chip away any of them. Chipped away a couple more. Chipped away a few more. Still 37.67 lots. Bid stacking a little bit above those 51. So protecting that order is a good sign. Even a wick near the level that we want to see hold. Light volume off these three candles. If the volume wants to start picking back up, it's going to start building this little U shape. More than likely, if it wants to push up into 34s again, that is going to be an area where we're looking to start trimming the name, because we got to be sure that this is going to pan out. But leaving this candle, it's got to be able to leave a nice wick off of this candle before we think it's out of the woods. And able to eat through those orders for the time being. We'll see if some buyers can come on in. Let's try not to see these 33s give up, even though we know it's possible. And we do have to get ready to maybe market out of this order. If 33s are able to give up significantly here, then, and it does eat up through the 33s, and there we're out. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked good. That's alright. It can still probably wick up through that, and maybe there's something here, but you know, if the buyers aren't here, then let's just move on to something else. Maybe penny stocks aren't my forte. Maybe I need to stick with something a little bit more weight, but you know, you can only do so much. Luckily, we were able to take some profits up to 34 fours, and Live and you learn. I think that is probably going to be the end of my trading penny stocks. Just don't get reads on them. I mean, this is exactly how you draw up a setup. You get the consolidation, you hold the level above the breakout level, and you go for a leg higher. But what do you do? But moving on, let's go look around and see if we can find another play. Plug up to these 33 or 1330s. DocuSign, we have no print on the name yet, but continuing to catch a nice bid to the upside. KRE, a nice green candle starting to fill the gap. FVRR also approaching near those 32s. So looking at the 15-minute, if that does want to get up into these 32s, that is going to be where we're looking. Looking over at FFIE, yeah, just could hold off of these 32s, which is the open price, start the gap down to filling the gap down. And maybe it just needs to test a trend line before we get any movement to the upside. But man, I'm gonna have a hard time living with myself. I hate taking losing trades. So hopefully that isn't the start for a bad day of trading, but let's figure out if we can move past it. Let's go find some volume. Nikola here at these 266, really holding. Uh, Looking like this is going to be some sort of flat top. If this can get up these 75s, I think we should probably take a piece. But if it wants to run higher than that, we're going to have no issues. Bank of America getting as high as 31.35. We'll see if that can give us a fill. AFRM still kind of barcoding around. Warner Brothers doesn't look half bad. Let's go look over at that Neo. Only one candle pullback here. TDOC also not a half bad look. Giving out the lows, but still holding above that green candle. So we're going to also keep an eye on that. Maybe add to that position some. I haven't yet to decide there. DocuSign, nice green candle up through these 55s. Nice continuation off this positive break. Pullback candle down to this gap around 52s is a good start. That breakout price up around these 28 or 1128s, 1130s. This still could be that entry building in around here. Carvana candle has actually turned green from the open. FFIV leaving that wick right there. Back underneath of this wick was the no-go for me. I still think it has potential. Just might need to work some kinks out first. I am probably going to keep that on watch. Plug pushing a green candle. We'll see if we can get that up into 50s. Soundhound wicking into the level. Take a look at Invax. Nothing really that juicy. Plug getting as high as 42s, it looks like. Affirm still holding this green candle now with 34 seconds left, potentially setting a close above these body candle highs. SoFi in and around these 10 levels, and we were talking about this 950 as a level holding above these sort of flat top break. It breaks it, tests it again, and now sets a few higher lows, and it's off to the races up to 10. Is it going to have the weight or the strength to be able to push 10? I'm not sure. Let's look at some of the top movers again. PBLA, heavy volume name for sure. Nickel up these 270s, getting as high as 73s. So let's go ahead and get an order off for Nikola off of 75s and see if we can hold a piece for a higher move. So 275, let's go on the tape there. FFIE still hanging in around here. Tries to rehold those 33s, but a lot of volume, red volume as it breaks that level. I'm sure that is some selling from over in this red or this green move. I still think it looks decent, but it's going to be hard getting back into it. Affirm giving me that fill off at 1850, so ringing the register on Affirm. I could go over to plug, and let's go ahead and throw an order off at 1350s and see if that can give us a fill. And Zim wicking up towards that 14 a few times, so let's go over to Zim and also try and take a little bit of profit off of 14 flat. So let's go ahead and throw that order in there. FVRR wasn't able to quite get up those 33s or 32s. End phase notably strong. I think 190 is going to be an interesting level for it to get back over, as you have this sort of nice green candle consolidation, candle gaps up, that isn't able to fill the gap. But if it's able to get back over top of this price right here, we're just going to mark that. You know, we are starting to fill this gap to the upside. So does this need to be some sort of a channel? Sort of like this? Maybe so. But all in all, I would say the bigger picture is sort of like that. So a decent looking channel there. We're going to probably try and hold a piece of that as high as it wants to go. Nickel trying to act like it wants to push up to those threes again. We'll see if that has any strength to it. Let's go back and look at the top volume. Lucid. We were talking about Lucid down, retesting this original positive break right here, where the longs look like they entered. Longs get back in, try and push the price back up. Plug not able to get up there high of 1342. Soundhound really rejecting the level, giving up the level. Filling the gap. Is there going to be any gap fill buyers? Short of a flat top that it was able to push over. So it could just wick into that gap more than possible. SoFi was able to push through 10s for the time being. I don't think there's anything there for Mullen. Zila attempting to maybe push this positive break. Could be something there. Nikola, we'll see if we can get that fill. 3 pennies off of that 75 fill. Bank of America, a nice sideways action churn right there. Could give us the leg up that we're looking for. Soundhound holding the gap, leaving a nice wick through that. A lot of selling pressure. Is it going to be able to hold this sort of trend line? Neo still holding in around these 11s. Warner Bros back into around this open price. This could be one that we try. Probably has some sort of trend line for its case to push higher. Not the most amount of volume increase into the open, but notable that it was able to push 13s. Can it hold in this range? Looking at it, I do not like that wick down. Nickel getting as high as 73s. We are going to keep an eye on the Odyssey. Arrival for that IPO today. Should be today. Well, so we'll see when that wants to IPO. NASDAQ coming back in just a wee bit. A firm wicking through that 50 and coming back in briefly. RXT, I probably should have stuck with this. I was able to find that ODD IPO price is gonna be 46, which it was supposed to be 27 to 30, and then they increased it from 30 to 32 to 34, and now it seems like the open price for it is gonna be 46. ODB, ODD, Odyssey Tech. I'm liking these wicks in the 50s. The buyers are continuing to hold above 50 with a clear out. Maybe if it pulls into 520, that can be your escape, as the gap can potentially hold. Plug wicking up as high as 42s again. SoFi giving up 10s, kind of a washout top. Sun W, a nice green move. Came back in, tested those highs yesterday. Let's take a look over at DocuSign. Still holding above these 55s. TDOC still holding a green candle. Wick is selling though. FVRR showing that wick up towards that 32 top right there. So that is a little bit of concern. Warner Bros holding above that that gap fill, putting in a green candle. So holding at that previous high price. FFIE coming back into these 32s, so was the right choice to stop out for the time being at least. And that stop out coming in at 32.5, so really not, hasn't done anything. But we had to make a decision, and we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be able to move past it. So it is what it is. Bank of America still trying to hold this green move, kind of coming back in. If 31s can hold, we think we can print 31.50s. Soundhound wicking through that gap, setting a close. Is it able to get back over 75s? I don't know. MRO was able to push 25s, wasn't able to hold 25s as support. Pulling back in towards the middle of this green move. Is this a confirmed channel break on RXRX? That is the true question. Soundhound tested up to those 75s. See what Upstart's looking like. Up to 58. What a move. BDRX also has some potential. Even though this wick top is very scary. Probably some sort of trend line and probably some sort of downtrend. Building that wedge. What happens when it's able to break that? Nickel up, nice consolidation candle. Now a green candle coming in. If this is able to take out these wicks, we're pretty confident we're gonna get those 75s today. So we'll see if that can come through. Plug pullback candle. Test into flat top. Buyers are there off 25s for now. FVRR, starting to look more like a fuller green candle, so buyers still stepping in and holding this level. So if this wants to build this flat top right here around 31.80, if it's able to get through that, we think we can test up into the 32s. DocuSign continuing to hold 55s. PBLA maybe developing a flat top around the test of 3. RXRX taking out the day's high. That is going to be a sad day if this wants to break out and run, because we've kept our eyes on it, just weren't good enough to trade it properly. We got stopped out the back half of the day here. Just traded sideways. Zim looks like we are going to get this fill at 14. Under Armour taking out day's high, our week highs. FFIE continuing to sell off, wicking towards that trend line. 31 gap fill could be something in the cards, but I think we're probably just going to stay away from it. Zim giving us that fill off 14, so able to ring the registers a little bit. Odd still not able to give us this IPO open. We got to make sure we're ready for that. FVRR able to push up through that sort of body candle right there. Is this going to have the strength to push up in the 32s? Plug just able to get over those 42, so another day's high, and we're on the ask at 50s. There's 44s. We'll see if we can get this push up and tap 50s. Hopefully this isn't one of those washout tops. Come back in and try the trade inside the range. DocuSign putting in a nice green candle. I'll see if that's able to push days high. BAC, that red candle that was coming on in, turning green, setting up the sort of flat top around this 31.25 break. If we're able to push over the day's high, we think we can print 31.50s, and we're going to start respecting this name on the way up. So at FFIE, looking at TDOC holding that level very nicely. If this is able to start showing us some sort of stair step without coming down to this gap, we're going to feel pretty good about this name. Maybe extending higher, pushing into the middle, more of the middle of this red candle. But the middle of that red candle is also where some of these wick tops are at. So uh, we'll think about maybe addressing the position, but we're sitting long off of that 25 area and not really looking. Zim selling off briefly from that 14 fill, so I will take that even if it extends higher through that 14. I'm going to take that as a positive, getting a trim on the name. FVRR looking to get some more continuation on the name. DocuSign printing days high on this candle. Not quite days high, but very close. We think that we can get days high. Probably worthy of looking at Baba. Trading back in, started filling this gap to the downside a little bit. Maybe he needs to trade down, but still trading inside of this channel. We're looking for some sort of channel break, and that should match up right around that 100 break as well. Odd still hasn't opened up yet. FVRR back through those 80s. Is this going to have any movement up to those 32s, where I think we could probably respect 32s, but now if it gets to 32, it's looking bullish for maybe pushing into this sort of sell window we have marked. Neo continuing this sort of trade sideways. Keep an eye on Warner Bros. Let's see what the low movers are for today. K-View continuing to follow this descending channel. Earnings are pre-market tomorrow. So an interesting little setup for the second earnings report for this name. Not a lot of movement in the market right now. I'd say my biggest regret for the day is probably the RXT. We had this marked for a breakout area, and it went there, and we decided to trade FFIE instead. You know, the FFIE trade really wasn't uh, all that bad, but obviously it didn't work out. We didn't get the continuation that we were looking for the start of this gap fill. We thought that we could get some price movement. The volume was definitely there. Just didn't give us any follow through on this GOEV. So I'd say at least short term, I think this is going to be the last of penny stocks that I trade. Maybe that's just not my forte. Maybe that's not something I'm good at. But we might just look for more longer term trades for the rest of the day. Where I'd say Disney could be one that we're keeping an eye on. And I don't know why AT&T should be one of these names that is on the watch list. I don't know why it isn't. Up 8% on the day. 70 million in volume. Maybe today was the day for AT&T. Verizon 27 million. But trading right back up into the level. If this were to, sell off, I don't see why it wouldn't trade back down to 1341 if it gets rejected. But a nice move on strength. Earnings are coming up. I'm sure there is some news related stuff tied in with it as well. PBLE, PBLA, just trading sideways, giving you that kind of curl. If this wanted to flirt up to 290, could get going. And odd still hasn't decided the IPO yet. Looks like 35 is going to be the open price for odd. A firm still right around this 1850. If that wants to push up into the 19s, as where we're looking for trims. And just hold a piece for as high as these want to move. These high margin companies are really getting movement. Zim breaking through 14s up to that 1409. Why do we have that marked? Looks like it's these tops over here. So if it's able to sort of break over top of that, we think that we can hold this for maybe a little bit higher. Maybe we can start at in front of 1450s. We can get back to trimming the name again. Neo looks like it's still holding a nice uptrend. Plug looks like got to day's high at 1344. So wasn't able to give us a move higher. FVRR still holding around these 3180s. That previous candle ended a little bit below, which is fine. This next candle was able to gap up. Doesn't look like it was able to get down to that gap. Oil able to take out the highs on increased volume, 3 candles in a row, gaps up, fills the gap, holds the gap level, and now trading higher. Is that going to be able to show some strength up to 65 gap? DocuSign did print days high on this candle. Hopefully that's not a washout top and that can get some continuation where maybe we can start thinking about some trim levels. If this is some sort of retracement, you know, that first one is what it rejected right there. So that 786 kind of meeting in near these lows. Up to the 702 is at 60. So maybe we can get a move up to 60. So we do want to keep an eye for this Odyssey IPO. It still has not IPO'd yet for today. RX taking out days high. So you know, I really wish I was in on this name. You know, it gave me the candle to take the breakout around these 14s. Would be $1.70 in the money. So maybe I just gotta be better. Zim catching a bid up through 1420s. So if that wants to keep running, we're gonna let it keep running. FVRR, nice green candle. Is this going to be able to push up in the 32s? Roku setting up a flat top for a potential leg up. That reminds me to take a look over at TDOC and testing back up to those 26s. So TDOC looking decent. We're gonna find something. Still no open price on Oddity Tech. Neo testing up towards this 11 again, given that barcode. TDOC giving a nice look as well. FVRR, nice look as well. Plug, decent look. A little wicky. Gave a washout top towards those 50s where we're on the ask. BDRX continuing to show these wicks up towards these. So I don't know if this is ready to break out yet. Looking at Neo, still not able to break through these 11s. We have the open of the next candle. FFIE putting in a green candle, trying to hold above the gap start. I'm sure you have some sort of trend line through this. BAC taking out days high. We are on the ask at 31.50s. So we'll see if we can get a fill on BAC here. BAC, another day's high print. Looking to get 31 halves here. KRE, we're looking for this to keep that continuation. We'll see if we can get this name up to 50s. It looks pretty good. It has a pretty solidified trend line right here. You know, if this is some sort of channel, whether that's set accurately or not. Looking at plug, looking to get 1350 prints here. We're not quite sure if we're going to be able to or not. Neo right around this 11 flat, which is probably a big level. Looking like it wants to take out days high. And Warner Bros. Able to take out that sort of level right there. Trading at a 13. Probably some sort of trend line in there. RX, we're disappointed not to be in this. Plain and simple. RXT, disappointed we are not in this. BDRX giving up those 550s for the time being, but right in near those wick lows. Are we going to see buying coming in here? Awfully wicky. Whenever it's left this, it's pretty much traded down. Yeah, I think it may be best idea to just stay away from this one. Nope, not trading these penny names. The thoughts going through my head, but I'm not going to trade them. Probably look over for TDOC. Breaking through those 26s, so that's a good start. BAC, full green engulfing candle, trying to push for days high. On the ask at 31.50. Let's watch this and see if we can get a fill. BAC 31.48. Looks like we are going to get this print potentially. 31.58. 31.48. Let's see if we get these 50 fills. Just a little bitty push is all we need before we can ring the register. wicking up towards that, you know, if we wanted to play it safe, we could just go and take that order off and just switch it to a market. I mean, 5 pennies away. Do we even care? I think it's more important to just respect the level up here. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a piece off of Bank of America there. That's the first bit of profit we've taken on the name since we started playing around those 28s. So over $3 in the money, tough to complain. Plug was not able to give us that wick higher. Looks like 44s is the high. So we'll see if that can come and give us a fill up at 1350s. But we have no prints on the name, so actually with plug, I think we're going to stay on those 50s and then also get a market sell here at current price. So we just took a print there. KRE testing up towards the highs. Nickel continuing the trade below that level, so let's just go ahead and leave those 75s on and take a piece here off of Nikola. So ring the register. So let's keep an eye for this Odyssey. Still not open. That is what we're going to be waiting for, is the IPO. FVRR, right around this day's high. And that is also what I like to see, is a nice volume increase. Neo back below 11s. Right around this nut up or shut up area. 1190 would be something maybe of concern. A little bit higher than this, maybe developing some sort of flat top before a leg up. BDRX, got the open of the next candle. Looks like continuation to the downside is what I would bet. Still hasn't been able to fill this 520 gap, so maybe it can hold above that. Nice uptrend here. Still just waiting for the Odyssey IPO. I am not sure where that's going to be at. Maybe I can do some research on when it's supposed to IPO. A firm trading down off of that 1850, which is a gap fill. Over here does fill a gap. It shows it on the daily at least, or it doesn't, but it does gap down from there. Wick's awfully close, so more than likely potentially wick high there for a firm. Does it need to trade back into 17? I may think about reloading the position if it comes back into 17. TDOC still sitting in around these 26s. And BAC did fill those 50s. Got as high as 31.52. Baba, a bit of an indecision candle. It does fill the 94.54 gap though. So I'd say that does check off the box. SoFi giving up the level off of a wick through 10 and tried to hold. Was not able to hold. We do think that there is going to be some opportunities to trade second half of the day. You know, market's coming on in just a little bit. And just looking at the NASDAQ, which is still a nice green candle, but still kind of trading in the range. It gaps up, it gets the buyers off the gap. It actually doesn't fill the gap. So is the NASDAQ going to be able to get a leg up? Looking at the S&P, sort of similar, and the Dow Jones similar as well. But nothing's really moving right now. The only thing that really was moving was BAC. You know, as Fisker might give some sort of opportunity for something. Really building that flat top right there. You know, I think this might be the only thing that's really showing me anything that could be worth trying. Trading right in. 3 minutes left in this candle. Let's keep an eye on FSR. But I would say it is looking like it's setting up sort of a flat top here at 7. TDOC still right in around 26. Bank of America able to push through these 3150s. Let's look at that daily chart and you can see trading into there. If this wants to push up the 32s, I don't see why we wouldn't respect it. And 32 halves, if it's able to get up to that gap fill, I think that is going to be a respectable level. And just marking the wick lows right here, wick, flat bottom break kind of right there. That's up to 33, so it looks like about every 50 cents we're going to be looking to take piece. Fisker showing some wicks of buying right there, respecting sort of this previous top. See what the tape looks like for Fisker. And my dog does have to go outside, so I'm gonna go do that. And when I come back, we're gonna see what this third candle on Fisker is looking like. So I'll be right back, and we will hopefully find something when we're on our way back. Fisker coming in the 77s. We'll see if that can hold. All right, be right back. Okay, and we're back. So I can see a nice wick of buying coming in near those 75s. Looking at Apple, I just seen that turn green. Breaking out. That looks like all-time high. Could just punch in the Apple. Yeah, that looks pretty good for continuation, honestly. I wish I would have took it right when I seen it. Coming back in, maybe if this comes back in, we just play Apple. Apple coming back in. We seen what Microsoft did yesterday on that high break. Sort of a similar look. Left a little bit of a wick and then just that continuation. Unbelievable move for Apple. The amount of liquidity coming into the name right now. Click the wrong button there. Zim just a test of 14 and a move higher. AFRM coming right back into the level, so could just re-pick up the shares that we cut at 1850 if we wanted to. But let's see if that can just, hold some levels and go for a move higher. Let's look back at that Apple trade. What a move. Up to 198, notable move. That red the green move was legit. Monstrous move for Apple. Looking back at Fisker, right back to these 681s. Nice green candle, 5 minutes left on it. Not a lot of volume. Looking at BAC, getting some nice continuation. TDOC rejecting those 26s. We still think there's maybe some sort of trend line that's trying to be built. Give or take something like that. Yeah, other than that, we're going to be waiting for the Odyssey Tech IPO, which is supposed to be today. It doesn't look like it is open yet. But that is what we're going to be waiting for. And we may play around with that a little bit today. Maybe we wait for tomorrow. We'll see what the price action looks like. But other than that, I think this is going to call it a day. We took some profits on some positions. Took a little bit of an indecision trade with the FFIE trade, but had a good stop out, giving up this trend line, tracing down towards this $31 gap now. It looks like it is going to get there right now, so maybe we can watch this live. See how it acts at this gap. I'm gonna actually see if it has any size on that level. Looks like 4,000 lots off 31. And a lot more volume coming into the name for sure. 91 million in volume today. What is that relative to yesterday? Yesterday had a 128 million. Says the gap is at no, that's where the gap is at for sure. We can also look at the Fisker. Apple probably a potential trade if it comes back into like 195 halves. If it comes all the ways in the 194 halves, I'd say you're probably pretty safe. I'd expect a lot of buyers to come in, these same buyers that are coming in right here. Plug trying to take out day's high, so maybe we just wait and watch and see if this can Sound haven't given up the sort of trend line right here. Warner Brothers trying to show some strength if it can set higher lows, holding these 13s. You know, I'd say has sort of that flat top build right there. Apple getting as low as that 196 test. Neo below that 1090 level. I just wanted to put that price testing that wick right there. TDOC rejecting 26s, now probably going to test back down into these upper 25s. Is it going to have the weakness to get back down below the start of this gap? Possibly with this red engulfing look. Warner Bros. Holding those 13s quite nicely. Farmers giving the leg up. So feeling pretty good about the position on Farmers. Definitely one of my positions I wish I played a little bit better, but at the end of the day, you can only do so much. You know, I do think this Apple trade is probably the best looking trade right here. If it pulls back in the 194.5, I'd say it's probably a sure thing. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. But yeah, I'd say you probably have a good shot of being successful off of 194.5. You can probably give it below 194, so risking 50 cents. If you put a 3-to-1 on that, you're selling at uh, what did I say? 50 cents, 194, 60 cents. Coming all the ways back into the middle of this green candle though. When does this start getting bought up? I was just getting ready to say you can probably start at 195s and you can probably end up printing above this wick high on the day. So Apple, actually a pretty decent look. FSR, the open of the next candle, this could be a deciding factor of how this is going to do. If it leaves a red candle down to 675, it doesn't take much to break that, but if it leaves an indecision candle like this, that could be an easy breakout level, reclaiming 680. I think it looks decent enough to try it. So let's go ahead and try it. So we're going to try Fisker here and give you guys a little bit of entertainment. We'll see if we can get a leg up here. Some 677s going through the tape. Is there going to be enough buying pressure to hold it up at 675? We're going to find out, I think. Trying to keep an eye. An Apple right in the 195, so let's go ahead and alert this in front of those 50s. Neo crossing over those 80s. And there's 75s. So let's just go ahead and alert this underneath 72s. So probably gonna give this to like 670. I don't see anything really in here except for this upper 60s. But I would be thinking a little bit further downside move if buyers don't come in for the name. So we'll see if that can hold or not. BRDX, Apple into 194s. RXT giving up the levels. Fisker didn't take long for it to trade below that and probably going to get stopped out at these 670s. I doubt it's going to be able to hold. 6 minutes left. Plug also giving a move through. So let's go ahead and just take a piece off of plug while we have the chance up here at these 13s. And let's go ahead and do so. Fisker trade still holding in there. But not a good look with this candle. Neo down in through the level as well. You know, Apple might just be the safest play. I just need to wait for these 194 halves. And there is a stop out on Fisker, so that was a bad idea. NASDAQ really falling through right there, so that's probably reasoning for some of these trades. Maybe we can go take a look at, you know, Zim wicking up higher. Apple giving us our alert, so let's go over and take a look at this. Maybe we can. You know, wicking pretty dang close in there. We got alerted, never pulled the trigger, leaving a nice wick right there, but I think we're gonna have time. This could easily pull back into 194 flat. I didn't think it was gonna give up 195s, and it did, so let's give it a little bit of time. Firm giving up the level, and then some. BAC still holding up. FVRR should have respected those 32 halves, but we think we have plenty of time there still. KRE. Top, making these top threes now. It's been a while since we've heard of this one. Not a lot of volume, so I'm not going to get baited in. I've taken 2 losing trades today, so not interested in taking a third losing trade. Them, I'd say probably worth taking some profits with that candle look right there. So let's go ahead and do so. Take over $1 a share. I can't complain. So ringing the register on Zim. Plug looks like we're going to get some continuation down. Is Apple going to be able to give some follow through down to 94s? Maybe. Let's go take a piece off of KRE. Took some off of Bank of America, so let's go ahead and respect it here on KRE. Taking over $4 a share there. NASDAQ about to give a red, green to red actually. FSR stopping out 670. You know, it sucks taking a losing trade, but it was a move that we had to do. Search by the volume here. FFIE, it sucks taking a losing trade, but you know, getting stopped up at 32.5 was a good choice. You know, it had the setup like it wanted to break out, had the increase in volume, just buyers weren't able to come on in. Plug, we had some good profit takes. Even when it cracked this support, we took some more profits on plug. No profit takes there. XLE looks like it's coming back in as well. Soundhound, we thought this might have been a reasonable trade. It isn't. We talked about maybe having to come back in to 350. That's where it's come back in multiple times, so we'll see if that can hold. Warner Bros. Still holding this 13, surprisingly. Let's see what Disney's looking like. Disney coming back into the level. Odd is still not open. A lot of stuff really giving up the ghost here. Roblox did fill that gap today, so maybe I should have been a little bit more in tune with Roblox. Apple back underneath 195. Is this going to be the wick high? Oh, Nasdaq's really getting hit. Now, green the red move on the Nasdaq. I'd say more of the bank plays are really holding strength. I mean, BAC still holding above these 3150s. It does have a couple red candles. But I'd say still holding relatively well. I think my biggest regret on the day is going to be the FVRR. We talked about 32s. We talked about these wick lows, these bottoms. It was able to wick towards it, just never was able to get over it. Good think about the SQ. Zim, some continuation to the upside, so maybe a bright spot in the day is going to be Zim. A lot more green volume. We think we can get 1468 gap. eventually. We're not sure if we get there today, but now getting a true gap fill there and now holding above the gap. So if the Nasdaq holds green, maybe it's able to make some sort of push, and I think Apple is going to be the name that has to do that. I'd probably say DocuSign is going to fall into that boat of tickers I wish I took a little bit of profit on. Gaps up, takes out the highs. Was able to try and hold 55s, but we still are okay holding this positive break. Maybe it can give us a higher move. BDRX looks dead. There's that apple. We just never pulled the trigger on it. It looked good. I mean, the trade itself isn't like a major percent move, but I mean, it was a notable setup that we could have took right there. And that could just be the tip of the iceberg. You know, back up the day's highs, 1.8%. It's reasonable. AFRM trading all the ways back in, so a good 1850 fill. Plug trading back in the 13s, 13 flat, so I mean that's solid. Warner Bros still trying to hold. Is Odyssey open yet? Nope, Odyssey's still not open. So no clue when that trade is gonna start. Let's put an alert off of 5 here. Sort of where this flat top is at. Nasdaq now red. Looks like we are going to see some continuation to the downside. I'd say I'd be more bullish on the short. BAC holding the level though. AFRM really coming on in. Hmm. Yeah, TDOC coming on in. We'll see if these 25s can hold. We're gonna see what 24.94 has in store for us. We'll see if that has any type of buying pressure. But the short, I'd say, is looking good, except for on banks. Banks seem to be holding decent strength. But I think that is gonna call it for the live stream today. I wasn't able to find anything. Could have executed better for sure, but I mean, what do? You can only do so much. I'm just a guy. But yeah, that is gonna call it for today. So appreciate anybody who tuned in, and we will see you guys in the next video.